Good morning and welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. President Biden is headed to Israel as the area is bracing for an all-out ground assault. We will talk about that this morning. And gagged, the only thing left is the bound part, bound and gagged. The judge in the Trump 2020 election subversion trial has gagged him. We'll discuss that this morning as well. And will there be a House Speaker elected today? Jim Jordan, Jumpin' Jim, hopes that there will be, as he is currently the only candidate right now. And the Will Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith drama. What is there? What is not there? Why are people reading between lines that don't exist? We're going to talk about that as well. But first, we start with the Human Rights Watch and other human rights organizations are calling on the Biden-Harris administration to condemn both Israel and Hamas for war crimes after Biden and some congressional members have only denounced the Palestinian militant group. Ahmed Bettenham, who is the Human Rights Watch communications director for the Middle East and North Africa, said in an interview with The Grill that the White House should do more to crack down on Israel and stop blindly supporting the Middle Eastern nation. He says, we would like the administration to pressure Israel to abide by its legal responsibilities, to not violate the laws of war, to not commit war crimes, to not bomb the civilian areas indiscriminately, to care for civilian lives. In an ideal world, he says, the U.S. should be pressuring Israel to respect the laws of war, and it should be pressuring all its allies to support. But it is not, according to Human Rights Watch. As we said, the president is on his way. Well, at least tomorrow, he's planning to visit Israel and then go over to Jordan to talk with the leaders there to see what, if anything, can be done to try and settle this boiling dispute. Israel declared war on Hamas after the Palestinian group attacked the Middle Eastern nation, killing hundreds of civilians and taking others hostage. Hamas has called its operation against Israel a storm and said that the group attacked Israel for many reasons, including war crimes against Palestinians in Jerusalem and the West Bank, and to free Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails. Conditions have only deteriorated in Gaza, and they have serious shortages of clean water and food as tens of thousands of Palestinians attempt to flee crippling airstrikes and an Israeli ground operation. The military is saying that they are readying for the next step, which is a combined and coordinated strikes from air, sea, and land. And Biden is headed. This is not the first time Biden will have been in a war zone. We know earlier this year he had a secret visit to Ukraine, in which he was on that train from Poland that took him into Ukraine. He took along a couple of reporters, had them sign some waivers and other things, and they took the train in there, and he met with the president there. What's his name? Zelensky. And now he's headed to Israel. And we know that the U.S. Considers Israel a long time ally, and they continue to, the powers that be anyway, continue to stand up for Israel, while many, not just Black Americans, but many are saying, wait a minute, Israel has been occupying Palestinian land forever. We talked about this yesterday. Former President Jimmy Carter, in an unearthed 2006 interview with PBS TV, where he talked about his book that went into details of how Israel has occupied this land, and in Carter's words, it was illegally occupied it. There was a comparison to apartheid, but it seems in that interview, President Carter was saying that this was just as bad, if not worse in some ways, than apartheid, what Israel is doing in Palestine. That is the former president's opinion, and it's not shared by this current administration and other administrations that have followed him. But remember, it was Jimmy Carter who stood front and center back in the 1970s at Camp David with peace talks between then Egypt President um, Menachem. No, well, Menachem Begin was from the Israel side, and Anwar Sadat from the Egyptian side. Of course, Sadat was assassinated on live television sometime later, but he did broker, or at least attempt. They did reach an accord in Camp David, um, where there was supposed to be this peace in which Israel was supposed to relinquish some of its hold on Palestinian land. Apparently, it did not happen, and Carter talked about it years later in his book and on PBS. So, lots to look at in that situation in the Middle East. Hospitals are concerned. Those who are first responders say they are running out of painkillers and other medication that severely injured individuals need. And the World Health Organization has expressed their concern, and so is the Red Cross, which is negotiating. Revealed that it's negotiating with Hamas to be able to treat those that they have captive. So we will continue, again, as we say every day, and we have been trying to fulfill that. Continue to monitor that situation. Angela Connolly says, if the White House can't stop cops from killing innocent people of color, how can reaching across the country help? And see, this is what we're going to get, right? And Power 96 says, in my opinion, Hamas and Benjamin Netanyahu are the same evil person. The civilians are the only people that are suffering. Yeah, it does tend to be that way, Power 96. Again, we'll keep looking at this situation that is unfolding. You have Iraq, uh, Iran, Syria, everyone getting involved. Austin is mentioning the 6-year-old. We talked about this yesterday. The 6-year-old Palestinian boy. In fact, he had just celebrated his 6th birthday. Stabbed 26 times in Chicago. Hate crime. His mother was stabbed a couple of dozen times as well. She is expected to survive. But the young boy unfortunately died of his wounds. They do have a man in custody who was spouting, apparently, according to law enforcement, hate crimes against Palestine. And we also have other situations unfolding where hate crimes have been involved in Queens, New York. In fact, my old stomping grounds right there on Liberty Avenue and Richmond Hill, Lefferts Boulevard. A man was attacked because of his turban, and we continue to see the hate crimes build up. So we'll talk more about that as the time goes on, because we know that it's only going to escalate. In fact, the FBI put out its crime statistics for 2022 yesterday. It's interesting. It's interesting that hate crimes overall were on the rise against African Americans, against the LGBTQ community as well. You know where it dipped? 38% too, against Asians and Asian Americans. And what makes that interesting is because they did sign and got through that Asian hate bill. And President Biden spoke about that yesterday, saying that and attributed that decline to the Stop Asian Hate bill that he authored and signed a couple of years ago. You know what's interesting about that? The George Floyd Justice and Police Act, still sitting on desk everywhere in Congress. No one's signing that. They did do an anti-lynching legislation that uh, even some opposed, but they got that through. And apparently, according to the stats, it's been widely effective. So how about some anti-racism bills? That's an anti-racism bill in itself. The Stop Asian Hate bill. But how about Black folks? How about LGBTQ folks? How about other folks who suffer. Well, Black and brown people, period. If you see the results of such legislation when it's passed, when it's signed into law, then it's only reasonable to say, how about the other bills? It's a whole lot to be said about that. I think we're going to have to have Barrington come and talk about that one. Y'all know what he's going to say, right? We have to delete some of the expletives, but he'll get his point across. And Power 96 says, as far as those bills are concerned, don't hold your breath. Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Somewhere Austin is really proud. Turning our attention to, again, my city, New York. A federal judge on Monday slapped the gag on Donald Trump, limiting what he could say about special counsel Jack Smith's federal prosecution into his alleged attempt to subvert in the 2020 presidential election. The order restricts the form. Austin is laughing. The order restricts Trump his ability to publicly target court personnel, potential witnesses, or the special counsel and his staff. It did not impose restrictions on disparaging comments about Washington, D.C., though. And that's where they will get the jury from in that case. That case is actually going to go to trial on March the 24th. And Trump had continued to argue even through yesterday to the judge who effectively laughed at him. It was really quite interesting. He wanted her to put the trial off until 2026. He's like, it's 2023, Donald. Go to your room. Take a time out. This thing is happening in March, he said. So, wow. Judge Chuckin said, this is not about whether I like the language Trump uses. This is about language that presents a danger to the administration of justice. His presidential candidacy does not give him carte blanche to vilify public servants who are simply doing their jobs. Judge Chuckin noted that any violation of her orders could result in sanctions. And that's a problem for many. Even as Power 96 says that Chuckin will send Trump to jail by next summer, she does not play. But that where you stop short, when you say it could result in sanctions, spell it out. That Power 96, that's my issue. Spell it out. Tell him he's going to jail. Because Power 96, if you were to defend it, it wouldn't be no could result in sanctions. In fact, you'd be locked up right now in Louisiana and they would take your gumbo away from you. They need to take Trump's keyboards away from him, his iPhone from him. Or maybe cut off his thumbs. I don't know. So he won't. That's like third world stuff, right? But that's what he wants, a third world situation. That's exactly what he wants. Unbelievable. Third world. He wants to be a dictator. And you heard Robert De Niro's scathing speech last week, who said he wants to be a dictator. David Youngblood said Trump will violate the gag order before the end of the month. David, you're giving him what, effectively 13 days? He'll do it in 3 minutes. Forget 13 minutes, not 13 days. He probably has already done it as we speak. He's doing it right now, I guarantee you. Power 96 says he'd be in Angola prison. Exactly. Gosh. Well, Trump has all these trials. So, and it's like you got to keep a chart of the trials. 4 indictments, criminal indictments, 91 felony accounts that could land him in prison for up to 800 and something years. Evil lives a long time. So if he's like what they say he is, he might make a couple hundred of those years. You never know. You never know. But he's also been found responsible twice by a civil jury of sexually assaulting a journalist. His business has been found by a judge to have committed grave financial fraud. This is a guy who is still, despite all, and all that happened this year. Imagine that. Imagine that. You've been charged with 91 felony, none of them are misdemeanors. They all felonies. 91 counts, 4 different arrests. Your business was found by a judge to have defrauded the state of New York and its customers. You've been found guilty by a civil jury, found responsible of sexually assaulting someone twice found guilty or responsible, all in 1 year. That's like a lifelong criminal right there, all in 1 year. And he's the front runner, not only for the Republican nomination, but he's also, in many circles, in many polls, favored to win the presidency. And you wonder why the requests for passports have gone through the roof. Are you kidding? This guy. Y'all system is hilarious. I mean, Biden to keep up, Biden might as well go out and kill somebody on Fifth Avenue, shoot somebody on Fifth, do something illegal. He got to keep up with Trump. He got to get charged with something so he can at least run neck and neck with him, because apparently that's what gets votes. It's like hip hop. Remember that phase that, I don't know if they're still going through this phase where they feel like they gotta catch a case to be legitimate. So, and Trump was closely aligned with those hip hop guys back in the day. So maybe that's what his strategy. Let me catch some cases, and I'll be even more popular. And guess what? So far, according to the polls, it's working. That's really interesting. And speaking of what's working and what's not working, Trump has backed Jim Jordan for speaker for a while now, and today we might find out if Jim Jordan finds the back staircase into the speakership, because that's what it's taken, because he lost out to Scalise a week ago in the votes and here's the thing with that. The votes that the GOP took for speaker when it was between Scalise and Jordan last week, they were secret votes. So they only read the results. Now they're going to go to the floor today. And there's been some Republicans who have spoken off the record, of course, saying that, well, they think he's going to get it because nobody's going to publicly, not that many is going to publicly oppose him. And the other solution is to work with Democrats. How about that? That's a novel idea, is to work together, right? Then it's not going to do that. They're not going to do that. And this is what Hakeem Jeffries keeps saying, the House Minority Leader. Hey, work with us. We'll make sure you get your speaker, but we need to govern. We need to do what people voted us in to do. They're probably going to say, no, thanks. We the MAGA wing anyway. No, thanks. We want to just disrupt. And Power 96 is correct. It will be a comedy show on the floor today. But the only thing that's not laughable about it is that they hold so much of the immediate future of a lot of people in their hands, particularly government workers, particularly those who depend on benefits like SNAP, like Social Security, because they have to decide if they're going to shut the government down. And remember, it's Jim Jordan and Jim Jordan's boss, Donald Trump, who's been ordering his MAGA wing of the caucus, to shut the government down. And those are the things that's going to happen when they shut the government down. Power 96 is going to be affected. He's not going to get his VA check. So all that money he's got saved under the pillow, under the mattress, he's going to have to start using. So there you go. This is what's going to happen. But then you have some in the Republican Party, like Wiley Nichols of North Carolina. Well, I'm sorry, he's a Democrat. But Mike Rogers is saying that they want somebody who's going to rule. And Mike Rogers is a Republican. He's going to rule like an adult, not a child. A seemingly slap at Jim Jordan. And then here's my fox, everybody. It's returned. Y'all can't see him. And he's back and he's looking at me as I talk to you. This fox. I don't know the fascination with some animals by some people. My only fascination is that I don't like him. And he's like he's looking for food or something. I digress totally, don't I? And Timothy Williams says Mike Rogers is not an adult. And a lot of people will agree with you on that right there. But we'll see. Today is the day. They're supposed to pick, they're supposed to vote, I should say, on the House floor. And if Jordan doesn't get enough votes, they could continue on with an interim speaker. Republicans have talked about extending the interim speaker every 45 days or something like, or every 30 days. It's just no way to operate. David Youngberg says he don't think Jordan will get enough votes. Yeah, and remember back in January, 15 rounds of voting to get the former Speaker McCarthy in. Angela Collins says, I like wild animals to visit. I like for wild animals to visit me. We keep the pit ready. She's a country girl. I don't like them. Anyway, folks, turning our attention to something much lighter, but something that's people have been talking about, but the reason people talk about it so much, in my view, is because they talk about it so much. And we're talking about that ultra Hollywood couple, Will and Jada Pinkett Smith. Will Smith shared his thoughts on Jada, and he was really, let's say this about Will. We can say what we want, we can think what we want, but he really took the high road and still honored Jada as she goes on this media tour, which folks take as disparaging him. And obviously he does not see it that way. And he's the only one that counts. We keep seeing, some sites talk about this and go in on her and go in on him. And as David says, I don't care even a little bit about Will and Jada's marriage. And the thing about it is we shouldn't care about it. It's none of our business. He shared his thoughts. They've been subject to multiple headlines and talk. And Jada says that in 2016 they separated. It's part of her book Worthy. And the New York Times, Will Smith sent an email to the New York Times responding to Jada's book. He says, when you've been with someone for more than half of your life, a sort of emotional blindness sets in, and you can all too easily lose your sensitivity to their hidden nuances and subtle beauties. I mean, what a statement. I mean, that shows a lot of love, doesn't it? She was on with mother, Adrienne Bainfield Norris, and talked about her book. And her mother says she wanted to clear up some of the, quote, vitriol aimed at her daughter. She says, I just wanted to say, when you guys decided to separate, that was a decision that both of you made, the mother said. She emphasized that. She says, you both separated. You did not cheat on Will. Jada's mother wanted to make that clear. And Jada and Will appeared together. Of course, we remember that July 2020 Red Table Talk where she confirmed her entanglement with the kid, August Alsina. And she said that they were going through a rough patch at that time. And so Jada says, I just need people to know, okay, I did not cheat on Will Smith. No matter how sad he looked at that table, she said. She says, I'm in a place of peace, a place of happiness. As far as Will, she says, my relationship with him, we went through that long period of separation in order for us to journey separately and do some journeying together. And it just seems as though we've come to a really, really beautiful place together. That's interesting, right? And so Will responded to that as well. And he says, I applaud and honor you. If I had read this book 30 years ago, I definitely would have hugged you more. I'll start now. Welcome to the Authors Club. He says, I love you endlessly. Now go get some Merlot and take a rest. To which Jada says, he knows I can't have no Merlot. But she says, that's beautiful. That's why I can't divorce that joker. And there you have it. Let them have the last word on their marriage, folks. Let them have it. Whether you, we, or whatever agree with how they carry on their lives or not. As Will said, notifications off. So unless something newsworthy occurs between these two in the future, we will not be talking about them on this program. And I guess Austin just he just solidified that. He says, I wish they both would crawl under a rock and remain. Wow. Will's got a lot of talent. Yeah, I mean, Jada does too, but Will is ultra talented. So I'm not going to say I wish he crawls under a rock. Go make some good motion pictures, Will. How about that? Listen, that's the end of our discussions on Will and Jada. That's it. We are drawing the line here. Let them live their lives. You guys live yours. And we'll see you tomorrow and let it be known.